All right, so let us analyze the pairs and see which pairs we'll trade for next week. So last week we didn't actually get any opportunities to trade, right? So just a quick trade recap. The only trade that possibly gave us an entry was GPP NZD. Yes, GPP NZD, right? That was the only one. And I saw this trade, but I didn't really call the trade because the stop loss was way too tight in my opinion, right? Pretty much the stop loss is around the same price of the entry was around the same price of stop loss, right? So basically, if you look at what I was looking for last week, I was pretty much just looking for a break above this area, a retracement to the area to buy, right? To around this level right here. So we got two entries, but the market structure, it was very slow, no volume. So there's a lot of things that made me not enter. This was the first break, the retracement, and this was the engulfing stop loss below this line, and this was the second entry, break, retest, engulfing. So I didn't actually take this trade, and pretty much did not take any other trade this week. So let us see what we have for this new week. All right, so we start by deleting everything. GBP USD will delete everything and see the actual market structure right now, right? Remember, the first thing we look for is a directional bias, right? We look for where majority of the markets are going to. The second thing we look for is for clean market structure, because we need it to if it's a downtrend, we need lower lows and lower highs. If it's an uptrend, we need higher highs and higher lows. Then we need a very clean area that has been respected by price, which is the area of interest, right? So let's see, we look for a clean market structure. As you can see, we need two time frame in sync. We need the daily and the weekly in the same direction, or the daily and the 4 hour in the same direction, or all three in the same direction. So having said that, let us see what GBP USD is doing. So looking right now, you can see that GBP USD, this is the lower low. As you can see, let me show you right here. This is the lowest point price went after selling, and the lower high for that is this one right here. So as you can see, we are still within this area. It simply means that this market structure is bearish, right? And our area of interest will be drawn within this level, within this high and this low. Any area of interest outside of that is not really a valid area of interest. Now, weekly time frame, let's see what we have on the weekly time frame. Weekly time frame right now, as you can see, is also bearish, right? Lower low, this is actually the lower high on the weekly time frame, right? Great. Now that we have daily and weekly bearish, let us check for the 4 hour to see if it's also bearish. Now, 4 hour time frame, as you can see, market structure is actually bullish. So I'll show you what I'm seeing. This right here is the high, and this right here is the low. Price is still within this higher high and higher low, right? So this market structure is technically looking bearish because we broke under this low, but it's actually bullish, right? So for us to be safe, I think we will be looking for trades below this level right here. So let me show you exactly what I'm looking to see. So I'm going to be drawing area of interest right now. Let's look at how the daily looks, right? Let's look at how the daily looks for this area of interest now. You just need a very clean area. I can see one right here. So first of all, let me show you exactly what I'm seeing. As you can see, price has come to this area before, and guess what? It rejected up strongly. When we are above the area, we are rejecting to the upside strongly. When we are below the area, we are rejecting to the downside, right? Now, for us to be selling, even if market structure is bearish, we need price to be under this area for us to sell, right? Now we can also extend, I can just extend this area of interest just like this to accommodate a little bit more reactions from the area. So now let's look at how the 4 hour looks. Now remember that this right here is the higher low for the 4 hour time frame. It simply means that we'll also wait for the 4 hour time frame to also shift bearish, right? So if price can now break under this low on the 4 hour time frame, it means it will shift bearish. And if it shift bearish, especially with momentum, that will be very good for this trade, right? If it shift bearish with momentum, that will be good for the trade. Then we'll be looking for better retracements, right, to back into the area to sell eventually. Now let's see if we have a round psychological level right here. All right, so we have a round psychological level right here. So I'll draw it. The round psychological level is 1.32000, 1.32 thousand, right? So if price can actually break under that round psychological level first before the retracement, that would be actually be very good, right? So that was my first trade this week. That is the first trade I'm looking to take this week. Once we have this break and retest on the 4-hour time frame, then I'll pay attention to the 1-hour time frame for entries. Again, I'll update you guys on the Telegram channel, right? I'll update you guys on the Telegram channel. Oh, by the way, last week we got 1,000 subscribers. Thank you guys for subscribing to the channel, right? So to join the Telegram channel, you just need to come over to the channel right here, click here, and you click this link to the Telegram. So I call the trades there for free, you know. So that is the first trade I'm willing to trade next week. So Euro USD, I expect it to have similar price action. Again, let's see what we have on the daily. Now we need most of the time frames to be in one direction for us to be paying attention to the market, right? And before we start analyzing, I usually like to clear everything on my chart just to see a cleaner perspective. Now, what is market structure doing? Clearly, on the daily time frame, this is the lower low, as you can see right here, lower low, and this right here is the lower high. Very clean. We need an area of interest within this area right here to around right here. So let's see how the weekly is looking first. Weekly is also bearish. Now, one thing I also noticed from the weekly time frame is that we turned bearish, right? When we shifted bearish, we had a retracement, and we are now reacting from that retracement. So this reaction might actually continue bearish all the way to this structure point on the weekly, right? But it's not 100% certain. It might still take few weeks, right? So I'm not expecting it to happen in 1 week. But that is one information that the weekly time frame is giving me. Secondly, we are having some form of rejections from this area right here and this area right here. Now, I'm not calling this an area of interest right here. I'm not calling these two boxes an area of interest just yet, right? I just saw major reactions from the weekly time frame here and here, and also here, right here, here, right? So I want to see if we can align a weekly area of interest together with a daily, right? So that we have a very clean combination of the weekly and the daily area of interest. I don't know if that makes sense. So now that we have that weekly area of interest, let's look at the daily and see if this area of interest is very clean. Now, as you can see, the area of interest here on the daily, the first one has one rejection, two rejections, three rejections, which already makes this area of interest very valid, right? 4 rejections and 5 rejections from this area. Now the second area of interest has one rejection, right, and 2 rejections right here. Should we count this as a rejection, or should we just increase the area of interest to accommodate that rejection? So let's increase the area of interest to accommodate that rejection. So if you increase the area of interest to accommodate the rejection, then we'll have one rejection right here, 2 rejection, 3 rejection, and that is it, 3 rejections. So that is also a valid area of interest. So now that is very good now, right? So I will leave the 2 area of interest on my chart for now. Then let's look at how the 4-hour time frame is looking. Let's see how we can continue the bearish trend, right? Now, 4-hour time frame, if you look at the market structure, so I'll draw it out to show you. This right here is market being bearish. This right here was market being bearish, right? So we bought up. So I'm just drawing this exact thing. Just follow me and see. So we bought, we sold, we bought again, sold, bought, sold, bought, sold, bought, and sold. So I'll bring this out to show you guys the real market structure. This right here, as you can see, if you read this market structure correctly, this right here was the lowest point, this was the highest point, right? So lower low right here, lower high right here. As soon as we broke above, what does that tell us? That tells us that this right here is now the new higher high, and this is the new higher low. And a bullish market is made up of what? Higher highs and higher lows. We broke above again, same exact thing, higher high, higher low, broke above again right here, higher high, higher low. And now what do you see? You're now having lower lows and lower high. That tells you that this market structure is bearish. It's very simple. It just seems that this market structure is bearish. So let me delete this first before I continue the analysis, right? Now, coming over to the market structure, if you are not believing that this market structure is actually bearish, you can just simply look at the EME. You can see it was bearish and it started having some form of in consolidation somewhat, but this market structure was actually bullish at the time, and now EME is under, price is under the EME, and EME acts as support and resistance, right? Like a moving type of support and resistance. So right here, price, the EMA is going to be holding price as a resistance level, right? So that makes a lot more sense. Now, how do we play this market? How do we play this market? Again, what we are mostly going to be looking for is a break and a retest to sell, right? We already know that the direction of the market we're going to be taking next week on Euro USD is supposed to be sells. So what do? Look for a clean place to sell from. So let me check the 1 hour to see if we can get anything very clean. All right, so 1 hour time frame just simply tells us that if we can have a break right here and retracement, we could sell, right? So that's what I'm waiting for. Market structure will decide if we want this break to be under the area or inside the area. But the market structure is bearish because that's what we are actually trading, right? We are trading the candlesticks, right? So let me look at the daily again for clearer perspective. Okay, so all right, so we have a trend line that I can see now. So we'll draw that trend line for clear perspective. So let me draw it right here. So this is the trend line. Where's the trend line? So this is the trend line right here, right? So I think anything below this trend line is safe to sell. Then where will we target? We'll target this low right here. So we'll target this daily low. I feel like this trade is very, very, very close. It's a very close trade, right? But again, that is what we are looking to see this week. Euro USD, AUD USD. Let's see what we have. All right, AUD USD, looking very, very clean. Now, last week was clearly very bearish. Area of interest could be this one right here. Might be a 4 hour area of interest. So let me just check. Right, so let me see if we have at least 3 rejections from this area. All right, so as you can see right here, we have 2 rejections from this area. Let's bring it down a little bit more so that it will be cleaner. So we have 2 rejections from this area. Moving over to the left, we have somewhat of a 3 rejection, 4 and 5 rejections. So for us to continue selling, right, we already know that the direction of this market. Daily is bearish, 4 hours is also bearish. So we have 2 time frame in sync. Weekly might have a much more deeper retracement all the way to around this level right here. So we are expecting to sell. So right now, let's see how the 1 hour is looking. So 1 hour time frame, pretty much what we're looking for is just a retracement. So we have already had a break under this level right here. We just need a retracement right here and an engulfing to sell. This trade might happen very early next week, so I'm adding it for this pair for this week, right? So let me see the 4 hour again for the last time. Okay, so yes, so that's what we'll be doing on AUD USD. GBP NZD next pair. Let's see what we have there. GBP NZD will delete everything that we have on our charts. I still believe this market would continue buying, so I'll show you exactly what I'm seeing right here. Daily time frame is bullish. I told you guys last week daily time frame was bullish, and it was just the volume that made me not to really take that trade. I saw the market and I was active, even if I told you guys I was writing exam, but I was actually on the chart, right? So I still believe that this market will continue buying all the way to this daily structure points right here, right? But we cannot just jump in right here. It's way too far from area of interest. So we need like a cleaner, deeper retracement, to continue buying. So it will look more like a break of area of interest, a retracement to buy, right? So it will be a much more cleaner trade in my opinion. So I think we are going to have to wait for the daily to do that first before we actually pay attention to any other time frame, right? If we don't buy from here, we can potentially buy from an engulfing on the daily, but again, it's risky to just do that, right? So I'll just keep it close. It's not really we need the daily to actually have the deeper retracement for this market to be very clean, right? So that is it on GBP NZD. I mean, sorry, that is it on AU GBP NZD. Yes. So now let's see what we have on the next pair, which is AUD card. AUD card market structure is bearish right now. So market structure is actually bearish. Area of interest, let's see if it's a 4 hour one. Remember, 4 hour area of interest is not as strong as a daily just because of the time frames, right? So let's see if we can get a valid area right here. So we have 1, 2, 3 rejections from this area, 4 rejections, 5, 6, 7. So this is very, very good. I believe that this market could happen as early as next week. Why is this very similar? Okay, similar to AUD USD, right? So I'm adding it for this week, but let me show you exactly what I'm saying. Daily bearish, 4 hour bearish is good enough for me, right? Let's see how the weekly looks. Weekly, again, I expect a deeper pullback to around this level before we continue buying. So now let's see how the 1 hour is looking. Great. Now this is a much more cleaner trade to me than AUD USD somehow. So at least this has a solid game plan behind it. So what I'm just going to be looking for, I need price to now create a new low, right? Because this market structure, this internal market structure on the daily time frame is, I'm just realizing that it's still overall bullish because of this high and this low, right? What and let me show you what I'm saying. Market was bearish, we broke above. So this right here is the higher high and this is the higher low, right? So what I'm going to be looking for, I'll just draw this line to monitor this low too as well. So let me just show you. I'll just draw this line to monitor this low because this right here is the higher high, higher low. It means that whatever market structure is happening right now is a bullish market structure. For me to be able to sell, I need price even with internal market structure. This right here is still the higher high and this is the higher low. So we still need a new break and retest. I don't know whether you guys are seeing what I'm saying. We still need a new clean break and retest under this level to sell. So I'll be very much interested in this market once it start playing out. By the way, the market structure kind of look bearish because we are breaking new lows, right? EMA is above, holding market at resistance. It's just that market structure, because of this high and low, it means that market structure is still bullish. So for me to sell, I need a clean break and retest under here. So I'll be adding this pair for this week. AUD JPY, let's see what we got. So AUD JPY, I'm pretty sure I was calling buys on this market last week and the market sold. So I'll show you guys what happened. Right here. So this was the buys I was calling last week, and the market, as you see, it sold last week. So at the time of calling the buys, market was still bullish somewhat, and what I was calling was for a break, just for extra confirmation, for a new break and retracement and an engulfing for us to buy. As you can see, we never even broke above that. We never broke above this high, right? So we never took any trades. So now you can just call that a loss avoided. So now let's see what we have for this new week. All right, so again, let's delete everything to see a much more cleaner perspective. Market structure has now shifted bearish, right? So that bearish market structure that happened last week has shifted the market bearish, and I'll show you why, right? Again, you're supposed to learn how to identify this, but let me just show you. This right here is the highest point price has gone, right? Very good. Now that makes that the higher high, and for every higher high, you must have a higher low, and this is the higher low for that. Whatever price action is trading within this level is still a bullish market structure until we break above the high or the low. So as you can see, we broke below this low that makes this market structure bearish. I don't That makes a lot more sense, right? Good. Now let's see how the weekly looks. Weekly time frame had a very strong engulfing candle from the top. So this thing, I've seen it before, is something just like this. It has the potential of selling might be high or might not be high, just like this. So um we are we will still decide on exactly what to do yet first. But right now, the overall momentum of this market has been going up. We can't just assume it will start selling immediately, because the selling might just be short and then the buying momentum will just continue, right? So for us to sell, we need at least a clean area of interest. First of all, this area of interest is not that valid. We just have two rejections on the daily time frame, right? Weekly time frame, it just has an engulfing. Now let's see 4 hour time frame. Now 4 hour time frame has multiple rejections, so that makes that a clean area of interest for the 4 hour time frame. Remember, 4 hour time frame area of interest is not as strong compared to the daily or the weekly area of interest. Now this market structure is bearish on the what 4 hour time frame and on the daily time frame. Great. Now all we just need is for reasons to continue selling. Now this market structure is currently bullish, right? On the entry time frame, which is the 1 hour time frame. For us to be able to sell, we need a break under this low. We need a break and retest under this low to sell, right? I'm not really sure if I'm liking it for this week. Again, market structure was bearish because of this high and this low. It broke above this high, making this the new higher high. Okay, market structure might actually be okay. So that's not what we actually need. We don't need this break and retest. That's not what we need. This is what we need right here. We need a break and retest under this one right here. Okay, so at least that is more valid. Let me explain what I just saw. Let me explain it. Let me come closer. So if you look at this market structure, you can see that this market structure is bearish, right? So this right here was the lowest point. So let me just draw it out to show you guys what I'm seeing. Low, high, low, high, low, high, low, high, low, and this is where we are currently. So if I bring it out to show you guys exactly what we are seeing right here, is that this right here was the lowest point, right? So that is the what lower low, and this is the lower high for that low right here. So now that we broke above, it makes this the new higher high, right? It makes this the new higher high, this one right here, and the higher low for that is still this one right here. But if you come a little bit more closer, right here, you can see that we actually broke above that line. That still counts according to the strategy. That still counts, right? So because we broke above that high, this makes this a new higher high, and we have to find a higher low for that, which is this one right here. And since our directional bias, or the trade we are looking to take is a selling trade, right? We are looking to sell this trade. For us to be able to sell, we are not going to be selling in a bullish market, because this is still the higher high and this is the higher low. We need market to now shift bearish, right? Which means we need price to actually shift bearish, break under this low, and then if we can get a cleaner retracement, we could sell. So that's why I drew a box within here, and for us to wait for this new break and retest. So that is the same thing I just did here, right? So that's exactly what I'm looking to see next week. So AUD JPY, I am adding it for this week. NZD card. Now let's see what we got on NZD card. Now NZD card, I don't even understand this market structure. Let me look at, I'm seeing the risk reward ratio too here. I want to see what went wrong. Okay, this market structure was even bearish. I wonder, did I okay, I don't think I took this. I think this is fxalexg trade. Yes, okay. I now remember why I put this risk reward ratio too. because I not remember taking that trade. I think I was just monitoring Alex's trade, right? So that's what happened on that trade. It was sad, it was a loss anyway. But let us see what we have right now, right? Let's see what we have. Let's delete everything, see a cleaner perspective. All right, so kind of look bearish, but I don't like this market structure. So I already have good enough markets, about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I don't really need to force any other market if it's not there, right? But the idea behind this one might actually be a selling market. Let me show you what I'm seeing, right? So this right here, a clean break and retest under this level is not really a bad trade. So let me analyze this market and see. So first of all, um what time frame is this? Weekly time frame is, well, still bullish. We never really broke below this low. Daily time frame is, well, technically bullish, right? Daily time frame is technically bullish. So 4 hour time frame is actually bearish. So we don't even have two time frame in sync. So that's the reason I'm not be adding this trade for this week. But I believe this trade could actually have a clean break and retest to sell. But it's not really following my plan. So that is the actual reason I'll not be taking NZD card for next week. All right, let's see what we got here. So last week, I think we were calling for a retracement back into area to buy. Seemed like that happened, but this is a new week. Let's see what we got. So daily time frame, let's see. Okay, so daily time frame, first of all, we don't have two taps from area of interest, because this is what I'm looking at as the area of interest, right? So we just have about two taps from area, and market structure is even what, bearish. So daily time frame bearish, weekly time frame also bearish. All right, I'm not paying attention to this market because I actually believe this market could buy. Overall direction seems bullish to me, and it seems safer to actually be buying in an overall bullish market, right? So I'll not be paying attention to this market. But what I think will happen, as you can see, this is an area of interest, 4 hour area of interest, multiple rejections, right? So what I actually think will happen is, if we can break above this area, we will just continue buying. That's what I think will happen. But the daily time frame and weekly time frame are both bearish, so it's just a risky trade to take. It's not like it's not going to play out, but it's just a risky one to take, right? So I'll not be adding it for this week just because of that. GBP card, let's see what we have there. So GBP card market structure, I can't even see it cleaning. I can't even see it clean enough, but the structure is actually bullish, right? Daily structure is actually bullish. Weekly structure is, wow, okay, so weekly structure looks very clean. So weekly structure looks clean for selling, for a selling trade. I'm thinking, because if this is the weekly time frame, we just had a break, a retracement to last previous structure point, EME, area of interest, and possibly around psychological level, all at the same time. All we just need is like a slowdown around this area, and this market could sell. And if we can catch the sell just to this structure point, it might actually be a very big trade, like 1:5 or something. By the way, this last candle on the weekly is a Marabuzu candle. If I come close, you can see it. There's no wick to the bottom, right? That just shows you that price might actually still come back there, right? But it's just that we have not really slowed down. It doesn't look like we have slowed down yet. Slowing down looks something like this, like a doji, and small candles at area of interest. Right here, it's still a very big candle. So let's look at the daily again. I'm just trying to see what we have. Daily time frame is actually bullish, right? Actually bullish. But we have multiple rejections at area of interest. So I'll increase this area of interest a little bit more to accommodate the daily rejections, and I'll bring it down a little bit more just to accommodate this rejection, this one and this one, right? And yes, as you can see, it's way more cleaner as a rejection. So right now, price is actually above area of interest. So that is a good thing, because if we now start closing below the area, it shows us that the momentum of the sellers are coming into the market, right? So for us to actually sell, we don't need to be selling when price is still above area, right? So if markets want to actually be bullish, it should just be bullish from here, so that we don't have to take the trade and lose, right? Until price start coming bearish, then we might start paying attention to this weekly again. That on the weekly time frame. Okay, now let's see how the 4 hour is looking. uh, all right, so 4 hour time frame. Let's see, market structure is what now? All right, so this is what I'm seeing. This is what I want to see first, right? I need a slowdown before that break. So 4 hour time frame, I need this right here is the highest high, higher low. We actually broke above all those highs, but it's difficult to find a higher low for that. So what will make more sense is for price to be under area of interest first, then we can look for cleaner market structure. This right here is actually, you can argue is bullish or bearish, right? So I don't even want to be arguing if it's bullish or bearish. I just want it to be under area of interest first. So once price is under area of interest, we'll just be looking for a much more cleaner break and retest on the 4 hour time frame before we look at the 1 hour time frame for the entries, right? The 1 hour time frame for the entries already looks clean right now. Seems like we shifted bearish right here, and this right here might actually be the actual entry. So current market price is actually the entry for this trade, right? But again, we are both area of interest. We cannot be selling right into an area of support, right? We need the support to act as resistance for us to be selling. I don't know if that is making any sense. So that's what I'll wait for. I'll wait for the break and retest under area of interest, because I don't want to sell right into the area of interest, because we are currently above the area. I don't want to sell right into the area of interest because it could reject and stop me out, right? So I need it to be below, trading under this area for me to be interested. So let's keep it close. I don't think it's a bad one. What do we see on NZD? Okay. All right. So next pair, GBP JPY. Not interested, right? Not interested. We are just at the highest high. We need a deeper retracement to continue buying, but market structure is actually bearish. But if you look down here, you see that it's actually bullish again, right? So there's too many tight corners. I'm not really interested in that. AUD, GBP AUD, GBP AUD currently bullish. No area of interest in my opinion. This right here is way too far, right? I don't like area of interest that is like, this is even 2 years ago. Wow. No, I'm not interested. I'm not interested in that far of a price action, right? And the reason I don't usually use I'll give you guys the reason why I don't actually use price action that is way too far, right? So the story actually is because of 2025 beginning, from January to like April, I was losing trades, and the reason was because of different economic activities happening in two different markets. So the Biden market was a little bit more slower and predictable, right? This Trump market was not even predictable during that period. So I was actually using data, because we are using the daily and the weekly time frame, right? So I was using data of like the Biden's market to analyze Trump market, and it never plays out, right? At that point, it was very brutal, right? But that's the reason I don't actually use price data that is way too far. Current market data is way more relevant to me. The reason is because whatever price Whatever economic activities is affecting the price right now is way more relevant than what has happened like 2 years ago. You know what I mean? So that's why the area of interest, I need it to be very close to where current market price is. If it's having multiple rejections and it happened recently, right, that will be way more valid for me. All right, so now this is which time frame? Daily time frame on USD card. Let's see what we got. So now USD card, if you are calling this the lower low, this might be the higher low or this might be the higher low. It kind of depends, but I might call this the higher, sorry, the lower high, right? I might call this the lower high for a potential retracement into structure points on the daily time frame to potentially buy and hopefully a slowdown around this area. But let me show you what I'm seeing. This daily time frame, right? This is the area I'm referring to that we are going to be having the retracement back into, right? If we can get a retracement back into this area for buys, it will not be a bad trade. But do I think it's going to happen this week? Because look right here. This is daily candle, right? This is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. The entire week is finished. So do you assume that the retracement is going to happen Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, then slow down Friday or something before we now have the move? You expect all these moves to happen in 1 week? I don't actually think it's going to happen in 1 week. Even if it's two candles that came here, this will be Monday, Tuesday, then we'll need Wednesday and possibly Thursday to slow down for the entries. Then that will be the end of the week already, because we cannot really trade it on Friday when we have not gotten any. We don't have enough what they call it. We don't have enough sessions in the market on Friday to trade the market, and we don't expect the entire move to happen on Friday alone. So that is the reason it's not going to be happening this new week. Next pair we have NZD USD. Okay, let's see what we have on NZD USD. NZD USD currently bullish on the weekly time frame. Daily time frame is, well, actually bullish. Would you look at that? Actually bullish. Multiple rejections, so that is actually a very clean area of interest. There'll be no need to delete that, right? But this market structure coming back into area of interest is actually a bearish one. Overall market structure is actually bullish, right? And if we don't reject out of this area, we can never really buy this market. For us to actually buy this market, we need to start breaking highs. I need market to be breaking highs for me to be interested in buying. I need market to be breaking lows for me to be interested in selling, right? We can't just assume that market will buy from here, right? You are not the one in control of the market. The market will never do that. To first test your stop loss first before it does anything like that, right? So we need it to break highs, start showing us that it's breaking highs before we'll be interested. I don't think that this market is going to be happening this week either, right? This is the daily time frame. This right here is already Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That's the entire week. Before, how many weeks will it take us to actually buy this market? I don't think it's going to happen in this week. So that's why I'm not adding it for this week. All right, NZD Let's see. Now, market structure right here is what? Bullish, bearish, bearish. So market structure is bearish, right? So this is the daily time frame. Daily, bearish. Weekly time frame is what? Okay, weekly time frame is actually bullish, right? This is the higher high and this is the higher low. So we still need at least one of the time frame to be bearish, which is the 4 hour now. So it looks like 4 hour time frame has completed what we are looking for. So 4 hour time frame is actually bearish, right? Lower low right here, lower high. So lower low, lower high. So what I'll be looking for on this market is to show me that it's, let me explain what I'm saying. Let me explain. So if you look at this daily area, price came to this area before and rejected up strongly, multiple times here and rejected up strongly. Now, but if you look at this area very closely, you can see that once price came to this area, it didn't really stop exactly at that area to reject up, right? He actually traded below that area for some time before the rejection to the upside. Do you know what I'm saying? This right here, he actually stopped at the area. That's why we are actually marking this area, because we are marking the bodies of the candlesticks, not necessarily the wicks of the candlesticks. Now, because of that information, that tells me that the 4 hour time frame, I can't just assume that I'm going to be selling right now. Why? Because we are still at that area. What if price came here and is just reacting from this area and you may actually start buying from here? How safe are you? Very unsafe, right? So what we need is clear bearish signs again. Market is around that area. We want market to now reject that area and continue the direction of the trend we are willing to take the trade from. So now what we are actually looking for is, now that market is bearish, it broke under this low, right? He had a retracement. Now we need it to break under the low again, just to give us that lower low and lower high feeling, right? On a bearish market, we need lower lows and lower highs. So if he broke it once, he can break it again, and then we'll be paying attention to that market. So we just need a new break under this low, this particular low, for me to be interested. So let's see how the 1 hour will be looking. So as you can see, that's the very exact same game plan that I'm having on the 1 hour. Now, if you look right here, if you look at the 1 hour, you can clearly see that when price came into area, it was bearish. It came back into area, traded a little bit below area, and it shifted bullish. Now that's what I'm talking about, because if price come back to the area, how sure are you that it's not going to reject to the upside? Because clearly it did that multiple times before. How sure are you it's not going to reject to the upside? You know what I mean? So I need price to now be coming, trading under, clearly below places that have not really traded before. As you can see, I need it to be under the area. That's exactly why I am waiting for a new break and retest under this area right here, especially this one, to create a new low, then a retracement for me to be able to sell. So NZD JPY, I will be adding it for this week. USD JPY, let's see what we have. USD JPY daily time frame, very bullish. Okay, very bullish. Weekly time frame, pretty much at the final take profit target. So we will not really be trading this market because there's no other price action above here, right? This is the only price action we can get, and that is the previous structure point. Sorry, that is the structural point on the weekly time frame, and price is pretty much around that area, and we cannot really start buying from here, right? So that's the reason we will not be trading this market. Euro GBP. Now Euro GBP, let's see. This market is bearish on the weekly. Daily time frame, okay, daily time frame is also bearish, but I told you guys that this might actually reject to the upside, and if it's rejecting to the upside, we will not be interested in this market. So we need a clean break and retest on that to be selling. So right now, seems like market is not really going to give us that opportunity, right? We are not actually trying to buy this market because two of the time frames were bearish. So I expected a reaction to the upside just because I'm seeing bullish signs, but I'm actually willing to sell this market instead, right? And since we never got the sell or the break and retest, then we never really took any of these trades, right? So I don't really think this might actually happen next week, to be honest. NZD, Euro, NZD. Again, I called a buy on this market. I'm trying to remember. I think I called a buy on this market. Okay, yes. As you can see, this is the part from that week. This one right here. As you can see, I was waiting for a break, a retracement back into the area to buy, and that's pretty much what happened right here. I'm not really sure why I did not take this trade. Let me look at the 1 hour time frame. Okay, 1 hour time frame was still bearish. So this right here was the high, and came back and it broke under this low. So because of that, we could not enter off of this engulfing candle. We needed market shift bullish again, which is right here. And there's new entries right here, but I wasn't really interested in buying way too far from area of interest, right? So that was the only reason I did not really take this trade, right? But let's see another pair that we have: AUD, Euro AUD. All right, we don't seem to have good price action. GBP CHF. Okay, and CAD JPY. Let me look at how the 4 hour time frame looks. Again, very slow market, right? I was expecting a sell, as you can see on this market right here from last week. and price sold but very very slow. This is how many hours of pretty much consolidation. So not necessarily interested for this week because the movement has already happened. I was thinking of targeting this low right here, and price has not even gone there yet. All right, so AUD USD for this week, AUD card for this week, GBP USD and Euro USD for this week, AUD JPY and NZD JPY for this week too as well. So let's see if NZD JPY and AUD JPY is of the same direction. So we are willing to sell this one and we are willing to sell this one. So that's very good, right? So that's pretty much the pairs I'll paying attention to for this week. I'll create the shorter version of this video to explain these pairs again for those who are not going to be watching this longer version. And I'll see you guys next week.